Everybody to Astro Monday. My name is Ra. I am really excited to hear from Chris about what's going on. So how this show works is we usually talk about big, general, deep topics about reality. You guys see that hawk? That was cool. About reality and what it means for us, what it means for society. We eventually funnel into the days of the week. Talk about today, Monday, then Tuesday, then Wednesday, then Thursday, usually Friday, all the way to Sunday. We talk about what it energetically is going on that's going to reflect out into everything. It's going to reflect out into society. It's going to reflect out into your personal life as well. And that gives us an idea. It's sort of like knowing the waves of the ocean so that we can surf those waves as opposed to getting crashed and tumbled into the waves without knowing when and where the next wave is going to. And stay tuned and present into this. Yes, this is always at the same time.
It's going pretty well, man. How you feeling?
Good. If you want to know what's going on in my life, like the energy, it feels like I'm in a gigantic explosion, like a fire, a portal, maybe. Lots of good things happening. It's just happening like very quickly and fast right now. So from the weekend coming into today.
Really? So a lot of outer world stuff going on,
Um,
or inner world?
Outer.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Well, outer world is going to be rearranging itself. We've recently gone into the sun in Leo, and so the sun in Leo is, of course, our heart, and the sun is our heart, and the sun is Leo. So the sun has returned home, you could say, to her home place in the world, in the universe, right? And that means that now we're getting to the heart.
It says Christopherwiteck is unable to join. Christopherwiteck is unable to join. Ladies and gents, and everything in between. So I wonder if I should stay here or if his phone has overheated or died, and then we have to wait. I'll give him about 30 seconds. Oh, he's back. He's back. He's back. One sec. Let me see if I can go live with him. There
Hi
you
there.
are.
Have not overheated or died. Actually, this is a phenomenon that Instagram does every now and then, where they just kick people off.
It is weird.
I know. It's just like, yeah, it's like unable to join. I was on, motherfucker. But this is kind of a sleepy time usually. If you remember when you were a kid in the summertime, because what's happening is that we're touring our heart about what our heart really wants, and so it's kind of like a more of a reflective time as far as activity is concerned, like literal activity. But what's happening is that there's a change of heart happening. And last week we had a new moon at 2 degrees Leo, which was a change of how we feel about our heart on the inside. Something about our heart feels about ourselves. Now, this is probably a very personal thing, that maybe no one knows about per se, or is not going to know yet. Private shifts. I know you're going through a lot of change. Your heart is changing from a swinging couple to a family, right? Like,
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's usually kind of often a transition of life that's aligned with this perfectly, off to college, empty nesters, that sort of thing. But also, this is a huge moment for humans because we have now come to this place where there are no surprises inside of us anymore. We've been pretty much given a tour of all of our haunted inner house. You know, most people are no longer in denial. People no longer claim ignorant. So we're dealing with a different deck of cards here. And so when you have a real look at your heart and get to the heart of things, you can't help but actually see the truth, right? So I think that there's a lot of more powerful shifting going on this year, 2025, than you would in most years in this Leo season. And so Leo season is always a change of heart. Your heart's in it or your heart's not in it. So the first chapter of this is your heart with yourself, and that's where we're currently touring your heart and your ability to self-love and how you self-love. And self-love turns out to be more important than breathing, in the sense that you are either working for yourself or against yourself with every response to yourself. It's that simple. You're either on your side or you're not. You're on your side or you're not. You either love yourself or you don't, And it's an inside job. That means that none of this really counts as far as like, the clothes you buy for yourself or the quality of, food you eat. Um, maybe what's puts in your mouth. I guess that would qualify. But this is all about what happens inside of you before the world even knows you're there, right? The way you respond to yourself on the inside. So a lot of people have these habits where they call themselves stupid, or they let themselves feel bad about something, or they let themselves worry for 2 days, or they, sit there and wring their hands over it. We put ourselves through hell most of the time inside of ourselves, and it's because we come from that place of hell inside that we've created, which is our reaction to our life. It's not really, God's not telling you to do that, no one's telling you to do that. Excuse me, that is your own choice and habit. Then we actually start a seed. I mean, step one is Leo. The first step of incarnation, the first step of materialization is self love. So if there's not a solid step of self love, then every step after that is a little bit flawed or damaged or lacking support. And so between now and step 10, which will be on Thursday and Friday. So by Friday, we're going to be stepping into a new integrity of loving ourselves when we hit step 11. And this week, in its arc form, today is step 5 right now, I think. So are your thoughts positive? Are your thoughts responding to you in a loving way? Do your thoughts question your heart when they should always be supporting your heart? The heart should not be questioned, um, in the sense that the mind likes to question. So it's like, oh, my heart wants this. Oh, you think you can afford that? So that kind of response to the heart is incredibly inappropriate. It would be, it would be like a Vulcan, like Spock, putting himself down for being logical. It's like, why would you do that? Ultimately, your mind has always have to be positive, supportive, encouraging, and if nothing else, just shut up. Like if it doesn't have anything nice to say, right? Don't say anything at all. This is a bad habit humanity has gotten into as a result of brainwashing, TV programming of people, media programming of people, religious programming of people. I was to say, it's no one's fault. We all were kind of lured into this, like cattle into a cattle car. However, it's very deeply ingrained, and it's probably our biggest obstacle, I would say, to getting out of this trap. Is today, step 5, getting your mind on board of your heart, instead of being something that counters it.
That's actually, yeah. So if you think about how the mind talks to the heart, it is like a very, sometimes, I mean, maybe if you haven't worked on this, it can be like a very bad parent that just says like, no, you're stupid. Quit saying that. Right? Like
Yeah,
how you would talk to a dog or something. Uh,
we're learning about him, anyways. I'm just kidding.
and, and
Tell us.
And like, yeah, so how can you, what would you say to like a small vulnerable child of yours?
Mm.
Like asking more questions. Why do you feel that way? Like how could we like there's follow-up questions that can be different than just like your mind just saying like, no, that's wrong. There's no way this can happen.
That's a
Um,
good question. So the mind is actually somewhat programmed too. It is programmed to do this. Oftentimes, when you do the research on where that thought pattern comes. So first of all, the best to get into an observatory space of yourself rather than a I don't know, active space to yourself. So, you are not your thoughts. You are not your ideas, or not even your body. You are the consciousness that's observing all of it, right? You're the observer. So where's my soul inside me? The one watching. That's your soul.
so
Your
you're not
soul is
like a dog.
watching. So you want to get back into the watcher and just let these other parts of yourself sort of like flow free at first, and watch what these parts of yourself are doing, because they've been programmed by you accidentally. And there's a series of events that happen. So oftentimes when you catch your mind being, let's say, inappropriate or cruel to yourself, I will always write. I'll stop if I catch myself doing it. I'll stop the play, and I'll rewind it just like 2 or 3 seconds in my head, and ask myself, what brought that up? Why did my mind suddenly want to? Why? Like, versus like, stop it, little Betty, stop. Getting away from like these, the just stop go of the mind. Why was the mind in that place in the first place? What triggered it? And a lot of times you'll find that it was a prior thought that triggered it, right? I was thinking about grandpa, and stop right there. It's like there's your mind was embodying, let's say, a troubled spot, or a spot that brings anxiety, a spot that has history. But even deeper than that, most often there was a feeling that you either had or a feeling you wish to avoid. So a lot of the mental self, self-terrorizing is actually a primitive way of avoiding feelings or responding to feelings. There's a feeling that precedes the thought, which we know is true because step two is I feel and step five is I think. So we know that the feelings precede thoughts always, but we didn't realize most often that a feeling is what triggered the mind to do that in the first place. So you want to get to the trigger of the thought.
So how does the mind transmute the feeling into this like parental like scolding? Like why like so you're saying that that's
Mhm.
all still feedback from like the origin is still coming from the feeling, which is also coming from the heart, isn't it?
Hmm.
Like wouldn't
Hmm.
it all still be coming from the heart? It's almost like the heart transmuting into the mind and then giving feedback back to the heart, but it was
The
all the heart
heart,
to begin with.
the heart starts off with I wish, I love, I wish. So the heart was like, I wish we could just get along. Okay. And then you feel, step two. And it's like, well, if you feel like you don't get along, then you must be an idiot. Belief, there's a belief there. So it just starts corrupting down the line.
Corruption, yeah, it's like the
Yeah.
television game.
Yes. It just starts corrupting down the line. And each corruption comes down. So it's like, well, you know what that means? You're a fucking idiot. Well, that belief came from your mother who said it all the time, who was your authority figure and your teachers in school. And everyone else just called you just damn Yankee in the South. It's like there's a belief code there. You've subscribed to a belief outside of yourself that you may or may not believe by yourself. So beliefs are complicated because beliefs can be generated from within or without, both. And that's what brainwashing partly is and also religion is that it's getting to it, the belief structure, where step three, they got you by step three, as far as controlling where you're going to go with your behavior. Because then you can prevent like the behavior from, way down the line from being, never even getting there to do it. So oftentimes like what you've done is you've adopted. So here's the trauma of it is quite often our parents traumatized us. Now let's go very deep. So our parents yelled at us, right?
Yeah.
And da 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 da. Now that yelling created an emotional trauma that wasn't resolved. So you still feel like when you think about it, you still feel bad. If you think about something, you feel bad about it, like it brings up bad feelings. That means you have not healed. There should be a nothing burger, nothing, no answer to a healed feeling. A healed feeling is a neutral feeling.
It's
Neutrality is healing.
neutralized, yeah.
Mhm. Like, I don't know if I feel that way, but mom, I don't feel that way. I know what I feel. When you get to that point, you've actually healed it, to a place of it's causing, you touch into it and there's no response from yourself. There's no wave created. There's no drama created, right? So if
Hmm.
it has an emotional response, you're still upset about mom yelling at you as a kid. Well, that alone creates like this like ongoing rhythmic frequency, right? And so what often happens is, and I feel it's just because it's to learn, the child adopts the parent's voice as its own critic quite often. The child adopts the parent's voice as its own critic inside. So the child continues to play the parent, even after death, inside one's own head.
Hmm.
And the reason why the child does not adopt their own voice there is because due to the damage and the emotional issue there, it's unresolved with the parent. Therefore, they don't feel like they can move beyond that spot and they can take authority over the parent in that place. So you're
Right.
basically not taking authority over your parent. Your opinion is less than your parent's opinion when you're yelling at yourself like your parent yells at you. You're saying, I don't know better than mom and dad, which, by the way, is not the way it works. Every generation is built to stand on top of the other generation. Every child should be better than the parents, everyone. Like that, have a better view, have more education, have more. Like, so if you, if that's not the case, which it happens sometimes, but, you know, um, overall, you ought to be the authority of your own words. So somewhere you haven't disagreed with your parent inside yourself. You haven't disagreed, you haven't dismissed, you haven't cut it away. And so because you still feel bad about it, it keeps coming up because it's like a vibrating, sore there in your consciousness in that one little area. And then if you hear someone else talk about your mom or your dad, like it comes up again. You are reminded of it.
It's actually like doing the work, going in, and you can do it on your own or maybe have a conversation, but doing something about it has surprisingly profound impact on that tension, that we're holding within ourselves, because that tension desires to be released. Like the normal operation of your body in flow is without these overriding systems of program that have been beat and forced into us, and then we attach to them. So there's actually a large part of us that desires the release, and it is relatively simple. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it can be simple if you start taking action towards it. It could be a conversation with your parents, it could be a conversation with yourself, it could be a journaling exercise, therapy. There's, Chris, I'm sure you have other advice as well on how to relieve that tension.
Yes, I mean we have this 40 days of self-love in play right now, and all that is that's just a diary exercise, a journaling exercise. So if you just journal it, and there's something about journaling that's very powerful in the sense that once it's on paper, it has energetic significance to you and your soul, and it's documented. It's a weird thing. It's like I'll take this pen and paper, but like if you put it on paper, like why does my heart, why does my mind beat my heart up? And you write it out, and then you write out a solution. What am I going to do about it? You've pretty much done. Like at that point, you're just reminding yourself. The problem is that we have given our authority to everyone else. Oh, the doctor has the authority. Oh, the priest has the authority. Oh, Chris has the authority. Or, all these other people have the authority. They're the experts. It's like, no, not over you or not. And so what happens inevitably is when you take on the voice of your heart and you champion the voice of your heart, you take back on your authority in life, because that is why you deserve to do what you deserve to do, because of your heart. And this has its expression as a child of God consciousness. Has its own right to say what it wants to do and be what it wants to be. If that heart wants to be a total little, ugly piece of shit, like whatever that heart wants to be, which it won't, but whatever the heart wants to be has a right to be. That is kind of a law of the universe.
So I like what you're saying about us not trusting ourselves. And it's like you're saying, we need to give permission to be the authority. It's similar to dog training. If the dog doesn't feel like you're the one in charge, then it feels like it's the one in charge and it has to protect you, and it just keeps on barking at everything. But
Mm.
once the dog feels like you're the alpha or you're the confident one and that you're safe, then the dog doesn't feel the need to go attack everything. And it's the same thing with us. Like if we feel safe within our own self, our heart, and we trust what our heart says, then we won't let that programmed voice of an authoritative figure like our parents, who were once more powerful than us, that won't need to be active so much.
Because we adopt our heart as the guardian. I mean,
Right.
when you become the guardian of the heart, then no other voice matters than yours. And that goes all the way out to your boss. That goes all the way out to anything in life, like where you feel like, who does she think she has the right to talk to the president that way? Her heart does. Her heart knows that that president, no, that person is equal as far as conscience is concerned. The heart knows that there's nothing special about you with your clothes. As far as the world of consciousness and God creation, it's like there's nothing more. You know more better than I am, right? Type of thing, and that equality comes from the heart. This is why smashing the hearts, hurting people, creating pain, is part of the art of war.
Hmm. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because then people are disconnected from themselves.
Totally, from their heart and their creativity and all that stuff. Exactly, yeah, and their magic and their confidence and all sorts of things. Yeah. Hmm.
So all this was to talk about us being in Leo season, and we're
Yes.
going from, I think we were working our way up to step 10. I don't think we ever got to what that meant.
No,
Like,
today we're at step 5, which means
right,
it's we're looking at our heart and its relationship to the mind today. And the mind and the really, the private relationship between your mind and your heart. What is that relationship? And we're bringing up examples of how quite often the mind is bossing the heart around
right.
and it's taking control, because someone has taken control of our minds, different things. And so it seems fitting that we just go ahead and enslave the next race down, which is the heart, according to the mind. Um, and so today we're going to be mindful of a new way to respond to ourself. And it might be that you come up with an attitude, or like a philosophy, or like a specific phrase that just sort of reminds you that the approach the mind ought to take to the heart. And as I mentioned earlier, because of where we are in history and the unusual importance that the mind has been given in society over all other states of awareness, because it reminds us of the God mind, which is a different mind. Tomorrow might be the most important days of the week, because if you can reprogram that response to yourself. And by the way, the way I reprogrammed is I told myself if I did, anytime I thought it wrong, I had to go back and rewrite it. So I was just like, for the first 2 or 3 weeks of this, I was just constantly rewriting, rewrite, say, rewrite, say, rewrite, say, rewrite. And if you just rewrite stop, correct, rewrite, the way you want to respond, the words you want to use instead, you will gently, in like a 2.5 week period, make tremendous strides in getting your mind on board your heart, because the mind will get tired of it. The mind knows better, and it'll actually stop trying. It's weird how it's acting like that. Yeah.
Okay, so you feel something in your heart, your mind attempts to override. You notice that, and then you overwrite the override. Is that what you're saying? Like
So it's
journal?
like, for me, it'd be stuff like I would say, I'm so stupid. I'd be like, well, no, hold on, stop. Rewrite. I say, I'm really intelligent. I'm afraid of looking stupid. So like, I would write the truth, what was really going on there, and so at which point I started to feel stupid for saying it. You know what I mean? Like it just works itself. The wrinkles work themselves out when you put them everything in its right place, but I would rewrite that thought inside myself, and sometimes over and over again the same one. Sometimes you keep finding the same one just won't go, and that one deserves some deeper research. Where did this start? What age did I start saying this to myself? What inspired me at the time? What relief did it do when I said it? So I think sometimes people, well, if they punish themselves, like the self punishers are an interesting type crew of people, because it's like, first of all, if you punish yourself, then then when finally get in front of someone who's going to try to punish you also, you beat them to it. So now you have the power. So sometimes people punish themselves because that way the people who abuse them have no power over them. They've already won. They got
Ah,
the power still, which is an interesting perspective. Um, some people beat themselves up because of Catholic and religious guilt stuff, and they kind of feel like they're trying to like show God that they know it was a sin, and to some degree it's a game. It's like a show off game to God or whoever's watching, that they get it. Even though they keep making the mistake, they get it, and no need to punish me here, right? Have mercy on my soul. I've already punished myself enough, right? Um, so it's interesting, but the punishment thing goes even deeper in the sense of, we've been punished so much, we actually associate punishment with growth. So they have brainwashed us to the point where you beat them enough that sometimes what you need is just a good beating, you know, to get yourself back in shape. You just need a good beating, so literally people have these subconscious desires to hurt themselves because they remember after the hurt came the good. So it's like in the past, they have foggy memory. They can just remember it got better after the beating. It got better after the beating. See, that kind of simple association can create a pattern of self-abuse.
wow, yeah. And there's an association to discipline, and discipline must be good, so then I must discipline myself.
Yes, and discipline, I found, that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up too. That's a great point, because a lot of times words to the mind are just like, the mind has this like good intention, right? I'm just trying to get myself disciplined. I'm just trying to get myself to go here. I'm just trying to get myself to understand that. So you have this like good intention behind it. So the mind has something to argue. So when you come at it, it's like, hey, I'm trying to do good, right?
Right.
And so the answer is, okay, let's do a study, you know, and the study is what brings the best results, right? And to do that study, you have to say to yourself, all right, I've always, for instance, a lot of people who don't want to study for an exam will wait until last minute to study for the test, because there's something about that cram where they actually get most of it in, they pull it off, and they win the day. So they've learned that procrastination is a tool that builds builds anxiety and inspiration, all this stuff. It gets the answer right, right? So they build this little game that happens.
Mm.
And you say, I always get A minus and I get B pluses. I'm not going to screw it up. I'm just going to go with this. Okay, but have you tried any other way? Even though this is okay or good enough, have you tried any other way? Have you tried complimenting yourself when you make a mistake? Have you tried it? Like, until you've tried it, your opinion is ignorant, right? You don't know. And so what ends up happening is, and I always say to people, it's, you can beat yourself up and you'll get things done. But my studies show that positive encouragement after a mistake brings greater results faster in my clients. And so you go ahead and linger at that stoplight all you want with beating yourself up. And you go ahead and go into a debate about whether or not that's the right thing to do to reward a person who's been bad. Why would you reward a person who's been bad? Right? That makes no sense. You got to punish them. It's punishment treatment. So everyone knows, humility, all this stuff. But it's like, okay, but if you actually tell a person who's bad, it's okay, but bad. But and I love you. But you know what I think this is? I think this is creativity. It needs to come out. So you spin it in a way that's like, this is a great part of you coming out. And the truth is you can. It's any way you look at it. It's the mind.
Right.
So when it comes to the mind, it is just the way you look at it. You're not bullshitting. That's what the mind is a bullshitter. Right? So it's like, well, aren't I just kidding myself? The mind is always kidding itself. The source is the heart. The mind has no source energy of its own. So it's always taking something and throwing a spin on it.
The crazy thing is when you start doing this, like you mentioned a few weeks, like you actually adopt that new mindset, and there is
Yes.
no more trying. It doesn't feel fake,
Mm-mm.
and that's that's a wild ride when you like, I'm going to start talking to myself positively, and then all of a sudden you become a positive minded person, and that then opens up the reflection of how you look into society as well, and you
Oh,
start actually seeing everybody else's progression, and you start seeing their mistakes as somehow beneficial, and you take an optimistic viewpoint on how you could uh, be in a better place because somebody maybe made a mistake in your direction. You're like, and it's wild. It's wild that you start to see the best in things when you just decide to see the best in things.
no, you said to see the best in you.
Okay, yes.
I mean, just to be like even sharper, it's like when
Yeah.
you start to see the best in you, you see the best in others. The truth of the matter is that when someone goes out there
Right.
and says,
Yes.
Rosie O'Connell, or it's just a stupid blah, 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 you are seeing right there what they think of themselves. Like anytime a person has this horrible, vulgar, hates anyone else thing, inside they hate themselves. That's all they're seeing in that other person is the part they don't like in themselves.
Right.
And so people are extremely revealing about where they really stand in their intellect. I use this phrase intimacy. Intimacy is into me, I see. The more you see into yourself, the more you'll see into another. And so once you do see into yourself, you give yourself compassion, you give yourself hope, and good responses or whatever, and then you see someone caught something you were caught in, it's hard to not have compassion for that person because you've been there. And by the way, you have been there because you only attract versions of you. So nothing around you is not you, period. I
Right.
think you have to go to like a Coachella, but 20,000 people before you find someone not you. You know what I mean? It's like extreme events to overthrow the curve. So yeah, everything around you and your perception of everything around you is all based on your preset perception of yourself. And if you just create that default to be, it's okay, I love you. I mean, that's really what it is. The it's okay part is important because the forgiveness, the absolute forgiveness, 100% forgiveness, 100% self love. There's nothing else than that. When you apply those rules, that you have no choice but to love yourself, even though you've been hideous, right? Then all truth comes to the surface.
Yeah.
All truth,
We
who
can
you are,
keep on
what you are.
talking about this, but
What's that?
I said we could stay on this topic forever. Um,
Yeah, it's fascinating. Well, it's important today, and so we're
okay.
reconstructing our heart. It is important today because it's what we're having. What's happening today? Like today is there are two ways to look at it. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I'd be like, can I get away with that? And then my higher self's like, get away from who, dumbass? Like who are you getting away from? God, yourself? Like it's like this imaginary authority over you, and the imaginary authority over you is just that, an imaginary authority over you. Creator doesn't have an authority over you. You are creator. Creator goes, we go, period. Right? Like we go with her, Otherwise, there's no authority. The law of the universe is free will, period. So there's no authority. There's no one watching but your higher self. Your higher self is watching because it's got some skin in the game, you know? And that's what we're going to be talking about here in the future is what I call the game, GAIM, the game. That we're all here for a growth aim, and that's really what the game is. You're here playing the game. It's a growth aim to grow yourself, and the only thing you've messed up is the aim, not the is. It's okay to aim and miss, isn't it?
Right. It's how you find where the target is.
Totally, right? You're just aiming and missing. You're not doing anything that is consequential inside yourself. Now you'll rob a bank and hurt someone. Different story.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah. So
So
this week we reprogram. Okay.
yeah, we reprogram, and then what do we like? What are we
Well, the
building
mind.
towards? You're talking about Leo, right? And like, how is this evolving as time goes on over the next few days or weeks?
So it's a long story of us like pulling all the thorns out of our paws and like getting rid of our pain. But we're now at the very final chestnut where going back to probably when you were 2 years old, and you started saying no, no. Two's no. Like the no word. That was when two age 1 to 2, to each toddler two. That's when the baby starts, saying no because the baby's overwhelmed with feelings. And so from that point on, you've absorbed this response to yourself. Because back then, parents are like, "No, Chrissy likes it." You're brainwashing the kid, right? Remember this: you're brainwashing your kid from age 2 on. Okay, so basically, the kid will adopt that language all the way back to that. So we're now to the kernel of that. So humanity's ability to heal has gotten to the kernel of our own creation, our own childhood. Now we have our fingers in that consciousness. You don't need a hypnotherapist or anything. We're in it. We're living it, and we have an opportunity this week to change the direction of that, and then watch it sequentially, the domino effect that happens as a result. So this week is about adopting and accepting that. Today's step 5. Tomorrow we wake up to step 6. Step 6 is, does my heart accept that? So let's say I always want to call myself not enough. That's a common game. I want to call myself not enough. I want to call myself not enough because I know I can do better. Okay? Call yourself not enough. Now, here's the thing. I know you can do better, but studies show calling soldiers not enough leads to losing the war.
Hmm.
You can do it all you want, but we tend to lose wars when we tell that to a soldier that you're not enough. Okay?
Right.
So let's try an alternative. You're more than enough. Right? So like opposite is the best way to go if you don't know which way to go. So if you're stuck in a certain rut, just go opposite for a while.
Right.
Don't worry, even though that's extreme too, that'll work itself back out to the middle, But so go opposite. You're more than enough, kid. What do you say to that? Right? Now what happens is the heart will kind of gulp at that. Okay, there's a gulp there that happens because step 6 is to accept and receive it as true. Okay. And so tomorrow, step 6 is to accept and receive it as true. That means that's it. So when my dad says I'm not more than enough, I'm going to say I am enough. More than enough is what's going to happen. And so that means what? Well, that's where the next wave is because tomorrow when you accept the heart will be afraid. The heart is afraid. It's either loving or afraid. The heart might be afraid that would be a bad thing, leads to bad things because when it accepts itself when I accepted myself that I was beautiful, my stepmom got jealous. When I accepted myself as this, this happened. When I accepted myself as that. So when I owned my talents before, bad things happened.
Yeah, that's crazy. You just actually made me think of something in my own psyche. Basically, my father didn't ever accept anything I did as good enough, right? So it was like go mow the lawn. Why is the lawn not mowed like properly? Well, like you missed grass here, weed whack here. It was like I couldn't do a single. I had to do everything 2 or 3 times, and so there's this like little voice that's just lingering, saying, "You're not good enough. You're not strong enough." Like that, but just easily saying like you are more than strong enough. You are more than good enough.
Amen.
Really does like when you said the heart will gulp. Like it really, I did feel like that that feeling inside me by just saying that.
Yeah, just like it's a fear of getting in trouble. Like it's. I mean, if it's a parent thing, it's a fear of getting in trouble, fear of being, and so you have to accept it to the heart. And accepting to the heart is, that's tomorrow. So that's just, it'll be okay. We'll run away to Hawaii. You just sort of like, talking to yourself. Now, acceptance to the heart comes down to boundaries. So it takes boundaries. So when you go, I can't accept that. So and so will kill me. Well, then as of now, so and so may never know. Boundary. I can't do that. People think I'm a jerk. As of now, people are not going to be allowed to know. It's just between you two. It's like You just start putting up walls. Like you start making up rules about how those people don't have a right to know if they can't handle that responsibility, right? It's not going to stop you. What stops them is a boundary, not a statement, an action, not a word. It's just like and sometimes that boundary is, I'm not going to listen to them. If I get that phone call after this, this air, if I get this phone call from that boss, I will not pick it up. I refuse to pick it up. I refuse to engage. That's a boundary. You know, a boundary also the future. Future boundaries are good too. Well, if this should happen and that could happen, then I will pre-decide now, do this. So you have like a retaliatory like response. So, if he comes home and he does it one more time, I have my backpack, I will walk out the door. And so at that point, I'm not going to not accept who I am and my truth. I'm going to stop what is stopping me. You stop what's stopping me. You don't
Right.
stop yourself. We don't stop ourselves on their behalf.
Yeah, and identifying that before it happens, so that you just have this preemptive, like, no, I'm going with myself as opposed to the other.
Totally, because if you if you preempt too, by the way, and the dreaded scene comes where the husband comes home and says what your worst nightmare is, you're going to be amazed at how strong you are. Like where you used to feel weak and numb in the knees or whatever when this came up with you and someone else, now you feel incredibly strong and unmoved. And the reason is because the prior incident did not have you aligned with yourself prior. When you walk in aligned with yourself prior, committed to yourself prior, then that's the force, that's the strength that you thought you didn't have. It wasn't strength you didn't have, it was the conscious construction of your integrity, really, in place ahead of time, which is why a child that comes from a good home does better because that all that stuff is in place,
Right.
right? Versus taking it down, holes in it, and that sort of thing. So step 6 is accepting. You might have to. It's just like, well, what if I said we'll cut off all our fingers and we'll blow up the building? Would you accept now? It's like you your heart will be like, yes, that would be fine. So you reach a point where I can accept that I'm more than enough. I can accept that I'm more than the world can handle. I can accept that I'm a lot to handle. So some things you haven't been able to accept about yourself that people have been yelling at you for years. You are so much to handle. No, I'm not. And it's like sometimes you end up going, swaying after you accept yourself that you're more than enough. Then you realize, oh, no wonder I was too much to handle because I was, so then you will admit when you have been, crossing lines of others as an overcompensation to the under support in the first place, And so once there's support there, you suddenly realize, oh, I don't have to go bonkers here and crazy there and start a war over here because those were all me overreacting to the lack of, versus showing up whole to the scene. So it's crazy.
Yeah, that's the paradox, or the, yeah, just like this weird mind blowing thing that happens.
Totally. Yeah, and you realize, and that's us growing up. That's us waking up. That's us coming into our power. You can use all these terms; they all express it. So, and that's what's happening. There's very quiet power turning on right now, but this power is so powerful. Nothing can get in its way, and that's the
And
power
this
of
is happening
self
for
love.
everyone.
It's opportunities here for everyone. So I think depending on where you are in your story, will determine how far you go. One thing about the heart is it does take years, because it took years to get here, it took years to get it done, you know. So you have to be patient with yourself. You have to have like endless patience, and it's done when it stops coming up at all. So, you stop thinking about it, it doesn't become a thing, and then you're like watching an old tape from 5 years ago on the internet, like, oh my god, I remember. Like, it's totally like, oh yeah, I guess I'm healed from that now. You're like, you don't even realize when you're healed, you don't even realize you're healed. You just realize you just no longer realize you're sick. That's why there really is no that's why there really is no sickness. So you're always healed. It's just that you're in the perception that you're not healed. you know but you are. I mean, you're always running perfectly in that sense. So step 6 is I accept and receive. Now step 7, which should be then Wednesday, hump day, right? Is that right? You say it's 5. Well, today's really was 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, they're changing early in the day too. So 7 is a little different. So what happens with 7 is, and this is happening with me already. I launched into step astrology over the weekend, which was really great. And I was telling the class that Now that I have formalized and laid down, my so one of my major benchmarks of this lifetime, which is to put this system into consciousness and into society, and make it useful, right? And start organizing society around the way God built it, and like to build things in our life around the way consciousness itself works. Why work against consciousness? Work with it. I immediately start receiving downloads for the next thing.
There,
Immediately.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're like making space for the evolution.
exactly. So this seven this time for people, I would say, if you've really put down that old dog, you may be delighted that something new walks in the door on that step seven, an inspiration that basically has been waiting on hold from your higher self until you finally got that. And so seven is like a holy day where we're in touch with our higher self. And by the way, more in touch with our higher self than we have ever been. I feel in this, even for till since Atlantis, we're now at a point now where we're healthier. The last time we were this healthy was Atlantis. Like we're at a point now. The last time we were this healthy was Atlantis. Like and we in all these 26,000 years or whatever it is, we haven't been there, since now. So that's pretty incredible. So seven is an inspiration. Now the inspiration might also be it can be so many things, but it may be quite often it's a realization of where things really must be in your life that you're unwilling to see because of all the things we just talked about in the first part of the show. So it's like, well, you might realize like I am meant to move or I am meant to, so this inspiration of, and it's going to be okay. And so a real step seven will be a real insight into what's next, right? Whereas before it used to be an insight of what was the problem. So Neptune is retrograde, and it's like so technically, Pisces has always been. Whenever we go through Pisces, we're just skiing through all the garbage of the past lives. It's just like a lake with all this garbage. The water skiing on this lake with all this garbage floating on it, and we've cleaned all the garbage up. We're identified now. At least we know how to dodge it. And so we're at the point now where it's like, well, then what's the other side of Neptune? It's heaven. It's up. So if down isn't weighing you down, then Neptune is up, higher vibration frequency up. So I feel like we're all going to need some of a heart upgrade, in this step seven this week, where I've already had mine. It's funny, but I also the day the step happens, I'll have a full amount of it. But now I'm at a point in my life where I actually I will see glimpses of what's going to happen a few days prior, and then when I live the day, it takes even something I couldn't even see because it had to be open. But whatever this seven is, it's a big seven. It's a big seven because it is on the others. It's the inspiration on the other side of accepting the truth of who you are in your heart. So it's like you know, when the person accepts that they're gay, that means they're going to be moving out and then getting with their wife, and then it's like, or whatever. It's like there's so much consequential to that acceptance, right?
Right.
When you accept you are more than enough, oh my God. When you accept these major, kind of things that you were right and mom and dad were wrong, right? Then there's tremendous transformation that potentially can happen. And I want everyone to know, do not consider other people and what will happen to them. Do not consider what will happen to other people. Do not. Okay? It is not your job to. I said I'd be there for them. This is one of those moments where if you don't put yourself first and have faith that they have a God too, and that you're not their God and you're not their savior. And I know why you think that is because you think we had one. You know what I mean? And we didn't. We had a cool man named Yeshua who came down to kick some fucking ass. He was not our savior. All right, like it is like we weren't saved. He actually opened the door for our pain by accident. Not accident, but But nonetheless, it's like so. This idea that we're here to save someone else is a really twisted mind game that was put onto us, and because we want to look good in the eyes of Jesus, we're doing it too. And it is because you want to look good in the eyes of Jesus. You're not doing it just for yourself. You want to look good. You want to show off for church, or you want to show off for God. Come on, admit it. It's an ego thing to be holier than thou. It's an ego thing, right? But the point is, these are deep. I mean, we're talking like the deepest problems in society right now. We're getting to the core of it now. We're at the very core. This is it. And so at that point, you go, all right. So seven is that means I've got to, break up my family, buy a lot, look, I'll use the gay one. Like, look at all the things I have to come out of the closet. All these things are going to happen so I can really live a fulfilling life. And so step 8, okay, is the commitment to yourself to do it or not do it. Are you going to do it or not? Are you going to, you're going to upset your parents? They find out you've been lying this whole time. Are you going to do all that? Are you going to risk all that? The answer is hell yes, you are. Hell yes, you are. Because they've got their own God. They've got their own Sirius Joy account. They got all their own stuff. They got to do the work too. No one gets, as my friend Gwen says, the road to heaven is a single file. You meet your friends and family on the other side. You're not going to sneak them in under your coat. They got to do their own freaking work. They got to get their own ticket to
That's
that
good.
life. Yeah. Single file. You're not sneaking anyone into heaven. You're not getting anyone under your coat. Like, so stop it.
Yeah.
So, and then step 9, okay, which I think is Saturn Day, if I'm not mistaken. Then step 9 is, okay, do it. Do it. And that step 9 is such an important step 9. Um, you may not have to do it to the scale that your ego will want to do it. Okay, so your ego's like, we got to remodel the whole house. No, let's just get some bids. Like, so there's an exaggeration. I mean, the idea, the mind, the ego will tend to want to blow it out of proportion and make a bigger thing. So there's that cautionary tale. You don't have to do that far. You just have to show God or your higher self. Even I'm changing my language. It's like we were mostly showing our higher self. You're showing your higher self that's watching down on the TV thing, watching you down here in this experiment, that you get it. You're going to be moving in the right direction. And so,
Right.
so I personally, I do things that are that can no turning back. Like I do a dead switch. It's like, okay, I'm just going to ruin it forever. Boo! Reactor is self-destructing. Like, that's right. Like, I will just fucking burn that. I
You
burn
put
the thing
this
down. I
down.
ruin it. Yeah, I burn it down. Just because temptation to go back. I have a lot of, I tend to look back too much. So it's like, it's burned down. I tell myself, there's nothing to go back to. So I don't even say hurt anyone, but a lot of people do burn down, burn a bridge because they will cross it back. They know it. So as long as it's gentle burn, this watched by the fire department, it's okay. But so some people be so my point is, ooh, prediction, a lot of bridges being burned about a week from now. A lot of bridges being burned. Like he said something I'll just never forgive him for. Good. Perfect. Move on. Like that's good because I was codependent and I was ugly and you shouldn't have been there. And I'm glad you think you can never hear. I'm glad Judy can never talk to you again. I'm glad she can never look you in the face again. I don't want the karma. Don't worry about that part. So I think at this point people cannot do karmic calculations. You do what's right for your heart. Do not try to calculate the karma. That's God's job. That comes out when you go to heaven. You go back to the company of heaven. You'll see where that price is. There's no way you have the comprehension to do that. You have the ability to do that. A lot of people are like, I want to. I'm guilty of that. Like I just want to avoid the karma. So like
Yeah, you're
I'm not
gaming
really qualified.
the system. It's like you, you,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Can't give
it's
you a 2-for-1 and maybe we'll get my cousin out of jail. It's like, no, dude, no, no. you know. And karma has to do with completion. It doesn't have to do with things like right and wrong. It's like it's so
yeah,
skewed in that sense. Like,
right.
so you do what's right. You don't hurt anybody, of course. You never would want to in any cause, and you do it. And then step 10 and step 11, you hold space until it comes into form, until it becomes the default way. Until you just keep hugging it from step 10 to step 11. It's like yes, that's what has to happen. Just hugging and rocking yourself. It's really hard. Just hug and rock yourself and hug and rock yourself until you stop and you're like, oh, the pain's gone, the worry's gone, it's gone. Until it's gone. Till the old's gone. Then we get to some exciting times because then next week, we go into Lionsgate this year of 16 degrees Leo. Lionsgate is 16 degrees Leo. It's the reason why Lionsgate is popular and famous and all this stuff has nothing to do with its actual truth. So it's got a lot of weird stuff around it. But the truth of the matter is that when you're in the 16 degrees Leo, um, and your heart is clear, now we're going to see some major rainbow rumbles happening on the planet because that the creative healing force of the light workers is here, aware, and in their power. Right? That is what the others have been terrified of the whole time. So yes, you can say we have won. We have. Because once that heart is open and they're not, unless I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna wood, but there have to be like a nuclear bomb drop between now and early August 8th. Something really horrible to stop this creative force now. The light has won. Has won. And I'm claiming it because I know it's true. And so once that happens, it doesn't matter. It's like there might be some things that like kind of disappoint or whatever. Once that light is back on in a person's heart, you're never going to dim it again. You'll never ever dim it again. And that's the strength we went through with the sacrifice on Earth. For 26,000 years. I mean, that's what we've done it for. And in a way, it's interesting because humans, and I'm part of the Earthlings, and I was talking about this in the class over the weekend. It's like we're the humans, which is HUEMAN. We're beings that can be any color, any spectrum, any vibration, anything. But we didn't know we were. So you think cell phones are a cool technology? You know what I mean? That was when the person thought he was a slave. Like imagine when a human being knows that they're a child of God, like a child of creation. And they know it and they play it with it and they do stuff with it. Like, so we ain't even seen
Right.
cool yet.
Right.
We've
Yeah, and
seen get away with. Yeah.
that's what you're saying, like letting go of the things that don't serve us so that we're in complete alignment. Regardless of what we think others need from us, we listen to ourselves and we move forward. And as long as we're all doing that, that creates a completely new reality. It creates the space for a new reality.
No, it's 100% to the point where we leave this one. We leave the third dimension. That is the ascension. That's the stairway to 5D. Is that the only thing keeping us in 3D was that resistance. Turns out we would have been 5D a long time ago had we not been fighting ourselves like that, keeping ourselves in the basic of it.
You did a very good job of laying out the days of the week. It was over like a 15, 20 minute period though. Could you
Mhm.
like very quickly, like today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, like one sentence each so that we
Sure, I'll
just
cut
get
your promo for you.
reminded,
I'll cut your promo for you. No, I'm kidding.
just so we
No, I'm
get
kidding.
reminded.
Okay, I've got my notes here too. Let me just see if there's something else I want on here.
Yeah,
Because
or add anything.
we have some time, seven. Um, let me just do some caveats before I do that. One thing is, what is today's date exactly? Is it 27th? Yeah, 20,
28th, isn't it?
20th. Yeah, I know. But my phone has it, so it's like here I am, codependent on the phone. But I live in steps. I don't live in dates. Um, so Jupiter goes to 12 Cancer this week, and what's important about that to know is that once you have freed your heart, once you've taken the tyranny off of your heart, which is your mind and all these other things that were, acting as your past slave owners, uh, way into you, now you have unlimited possibilities. Okay, so Jupiter at 12 means if your heart feels it, it's true. Now, maybe not the form that you're seeing, but your heart feels it, it's true. And that is a huge, people need to hear that. My guys tell you, if your heart feels it, it's true, it's true. You've got to hear that. So it's like there's things people are going to, I feel like if I went there, it's just going to be fine. It's true. Okay, you have to just claim it and see, wait for the world to stop you. There comes a point in your strength where you take a step forward, like the fool off the fool card, and you go, the world's got to stop me. Someone's got to stop me outside of me. I'm not stopping me. I need someone else to stop me, right? Which is basically
Hmm.
how everything happens in Congress. Until they stop us, we're just going to keep walking, right? Black Moon goes to 14 Scorpio this week. So I want to say this. It's like all the times you've been haunted by getting it wrong come up at the same time. Which is this is when you see these things happening in system astrology, it's like it's so clear this whole thing is scripted. Because the timing is just so perfect. Like, so you mean to tell me that I just have faith forward? That's when my fears come up of being wrong? Come on. One planet's in Jupiter, one's in Scorpio, one's in this. But what that means is I got, I chose to be on the thing and I got it wrong. I chose this, I got it wrong. I told dad, fuck you, and I got it wrong. I was in prison. It's like all the times where you went with that idea and got bitch, slapped down by the world. Those memories come up. Okay. It's not that they're coming up to stop you, it's that they've been stopping you from going forward, right? Like they always stop you. It's that you're moving forward now. You're like, I'm talking on something. Yes, that trauma of your dad kicking the shit out of you the time you thought you were smart. You're still hurting over it. And so because you're still hurting over it, feeling all the way time, feeling turns to belief, turns belonging to the mind is trying to stop it because there's a feeling there that hurts. And so you have to somehow make the feeling feel better for you to go forward. So so the point is like this week is there's a lot of like kind of like being in a snowdrift in a car. You're like, like there's a lot of just like you just got to ease your way out of these like mental, emotional. It's kind of like pull yourself out of this like parking spot, where you've just been just entangled in your own, things. That's part of it. Um, the other thing happens this week is that we have a 37-hour void of course that starts on Tuesday tomorrow, and a void of course, 37 hours is a day and a half. Okay, a day and a half where God's and what that means is energetically, what do I do? Do like you really have nothing. Like there's to be the world will be silent. You will not get your sign. It's like please help me. No, the universe is like we're telling you nothing. We're saying nothing. You're getting nothing. You just float. See what happens. Now that is actually the way out of the maze. That's the way out of the restraint. That's a way of someone in denial going crazy for a second and melting down because they need to. Um, we've had enough of these now. Robbie Hunt on our team has been like tracking these long voided courses. They're unusual. They're not usually this long, a day and a half. They're not. It's just a good plan somewhere they're all placement. But what we found happens is major shifts of fate happen during these periods. So it's like that's when the little mouse is like, no, 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 and they like get the hell out of the house or whatever. Like that's when stuff happens where people surprise you because they can tell for 1 second no one's looking,
Right.
and they jump out of it. They escape their prisoners, they escape their captors, or whatever's what's been capturing them. So that's important. It's like so if you're in the Underground Railroad, somewhere in your life, and you're trying to like get out of something horrible, you got a window here on Tuesday to Wednesday where you go ahead and make your move because everyone's going to be in a little bit of a spell, and you'll be able to get right out of there before anyone notices. hmm Know that. And then we have on Wednesday, Venus, Chiron retrogrades at 27 Aries. So that is another huge hurrah because what that is that the placement is now set for the real hero in you to come forward. The real hero in you, right? Hero is the best word. You are your own hero. You can never be a hero to someone else. You want to be a hero to yourself. So you cannot be a hero to someone else because you don't write their story. How can you? You cannot. It's impossible to be someone else's hero. They wrote you in. That's why you were there in the story. If you're someone's hero, they wrote you in. You didn't
Right.
write them in. Yeah. So you can be your own. The hero is now healed, right? And the hero was, the flaw of the hero was, it was here for someone else. So heroes are not here for anyone else. They're here for you. You cannot be someone else's hero if you write your own script, right? So there's what that means is that now the old character of Superman, never getting laid and never having, like I don't know what Superman did, but somehow he was a Superman and he just never had a woman. Come on, like, you never actually Lois Lane was like on and off thing. Come on, it's like this idea that the hero gives up everything for the sacrifice of the hero, all that stuff. I'm sorry, Joseph Campbell, time is over because that hero is that story of the hero is now retired on the planet. There's no longer going to be that archetype. That archetype was invented after the fall to survive. That story type of, and he came above odds, and it's like he raised,
The
raised against
struggle,
all expectation. What's that?
the struggle of the hero.
The hero, yeah, the struggle of the hero. The struggle of the hero is, from what I can tell, dead on arrival when Chiron retrogrades, because the humans realized, and it will take a while, who knows, for it to populate across the entire globe. I'm trying to think of Joseph Campbell's work. What the title of that work was? I can't remember
The
if it even was.
the hero's journey.
Hero's Journey. So let's put it this way. Come Thursday, the Hero's Journey is complete. Come Wednesday. The Hero's Journey is complete. There's no more journey. The hero found its answer. It was the person it was looking for all along, which is part of the story of it anyways.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's a journey back to self.
100%.
But you're
Yes. And
saying that the hero may not need to go on the journey. It just recognizes that it is the hero now.
I'm saying future generations don't have the journey. That's not part of the story.
Okay.
I'm saying that blockbuster movies on Hollywood will, are not going to work anymore. I'm saying people
Good.
don't care about it anymore.
Yeah.
I think Marvel's going to fall in stock price, sell now. I think, I just think that that whole hero's quest thing is done. And it's just not important. It's not interesting to us anymore. It's become more and more not interesting to us because it was interesting to come out of a bad place. It's not interesting once you're already out of a bad place.
Ah.
Once you no longer need a rescuer, and so I just feel like you're going to see, even commercials where they're like, they have flies landing on children's faces and they're saying donate money to help these kids. Won't work anymore. All those things are like calling you to be the hero just don't work. Firemen being our heroes won't work. Police being our heroes won't work. It's just not going to work. We're just not. It's going to be a nothing burger. Venus was in Cancer, but then on Thursday, I neglected to say this. So when we go to step 9, the Sun and Mercury conjoin as Kazimi. So at step 9, which is go, the mind and the heart are one at that point. So the mind goes back to the heart. The mind goes back to the heart because it's been retrograding, and so basically what that means is once the heart and mind are, the mind is the only part of us that, sun, Mercury conjunction of Sun and Mercury retrograde is really popular because the mind's the only bastard that fucks things up, really. And every now and then with this retrograde, it gets forced like, come on, you work for me, kid. Like we pull the Mercury back into line. Once Mercury and the Sun come together on the same terms, that it's letting go, retrograde, letting go, then, it'll go forward, they'll conjoin again in the future and come together on something. But that's it. At that point, y'all, we're in a world that statistics cannot calculate. So, statistically, stop right there. I think it'd be like before Christ, after Christ. It's like that was before awakening. Before awakening, those are the statistics. After
So
awakening, you cannot bake into statistics anymore.
yeah, it's just like something. I mean, can you imagine? Do you have an insight of what that looks like, or is it something that is like kind of like unimaginable from our perspective now?
From our perspective now, I do feel it's unimaginable. I mean, we can see like the opening of it. Like, imagine a world with no war, no pain, no disease. Okay,
Right.
you can imagine it, right? But that's where you stop.
Yeah. It's
Like, you don't know where it goes from that point because you have to be there to see where it leads. So there is like a reveal, and I've been having reveals like crazy since I kind of like, again, finished my assignment, for myself with the step astrology, like being on the earth. And the reveals for me have been like, oh my goodness, and it's been interesting, for what I care about now. Like it's the values that my heart has. Well, now that's done and gone forever. What are you doing? I'm not going to Disneyland. It turns out I'm actually, I'm actually changing into a person that I thought was boring. I would have told you it was boring in the past, so it's still unfolding. And I don't know. I think that's what the magic of reality, the world is that we don't know. You can't really calculate creation. Um, so yeah. So to do the 5 day of the week thing, just like do it for you really clean. On Monday, your mind, this is the most important thing. On Monday, your mind has got to get on the side of the heart, period. The mind is here to support the heart and to have language that's loving of the heart and is programmed to always be there for the heart. And the mind is anything else, call yourself a Neanderthal. You're a Neanderthal, okay? As far as today's terms are concerned. I'm being very brutal with this because you want to call names, Mr. Mind? Well, you're a Neanderthal because you're not on the line with the heart. You'd be nothing without the sun. On Tuesday, the repercussions of that, of the mind no longer picking on you, and the mind no longer saying there's something wrong with you, and the mind no longer suggesting that you're wrong. Suddenly, with the biggest critic out of the office, you'll be afraid. It's going to be hard for you to accept that you're no longer getting beaten by your mind. But you have to accept it. If your heart wants it and wishes for it, then it's who you are. If your heart wants it, it's who you are. So Tuesday, you have to accept this and accept the terms and the consequences and the gravity of that truth. And you never really know when you've accepted it. It's like, when the bride and groom are married, it's like, do they accepted their husband and wife now? What about the honeymoon? What about when they have the first kid? It's like, you never really know when it's done and accepted. You just keep staying open, open, open. And so step 6 is like prevailing. Then step 7, which happens on Wednesday, is then at that point, if you've accepted something really powerful, then you will realize of many things that I can't even predict about you and your story and where you're going. So I would say a surprise jewel from creation on step 7, Wednesday. And then step 8, That surprise duel probably also reveals some things that you would have never imagined as a consequence. Just because once you can't know it till you're free. Till a prisoner walks outside the prisoner doesn't know what the prisoner's going to feel like. The prisoner's not going to realize it actually wants to hop on the back of a bike, and So step 8 is like this commitment because there's going to be consequence. People are going to get hurt. At least you think. Okay. People will be unhappy with you. At least you think. Okay. Again, all these things you think are all based on the old, anyways. But when you make the commitment, you are determining whether or not you're going to ascend and enlighten yourself. If you choose you will ascend. If you make any consideration other than yourself first, you'll stay another year in this vibration because these periods, Leo is the time out of your heart. You will not get the opportunity to come out of your heart again for a year when the sun goes to Leo next year. You're caught for another year. And this is so complex. I don't believe someone can do this on their own. They need to be a part of an ashram up in India, up in a mountain somewhere, supported by tons of priests or something to do it because it's so complex. As far as what we're doing coming out of. Then after step 8, we have step 9 where the Sun and Mercury conjoin, and that is going to happen actually on Thursday. It happens late Thursday. The conjunction happens. So 9 clicks in on Thursday. On Thursday, you have to now, all of your actions inwardly have got to reflect this, every action. So I'm going to go have a cup of coffee with a bunch of false sugar. Whoa. Like, now I'm saying you have to be anal retentive and crazy, but if it's on your mind and it comes up, it counts. So if it becomes a part of the thing, like, what about sugar? Now that counts. Anything you come up with counts. And your behavior must be in alignment inside yourself. Your response to yourself must be in alignment with that realization. The way you act, the way you respond, and the way you initiate. Response is more important than initiation. I don't care that you started your diet on Tuesday. I care that you you didn't go off of it on Wednesday. The response to the response to response. That's where all the complicated calculations happen. And then once you've taken that action, no turning back, no turning back. Step 10, you love and you trust forward that everything will be fine, and you assume it will be fine. And you assume it will until it feels fine, which is step 11. And at that point, there could be a little bit of jubilee at step 11 because you will feel. I mean, I've already started to feel some of this jubilee. It's like I actually cried at one point because I just couldn't believe it. It's like there's a lot of, depending on how hard you've been on yourself, it could be quite a lot of jubilee. Private, and then we come back next week where we then wake up and we look at the world and we go, oh shit, we've made quite a mess, haven't we? We've made quite a mess. We've got to clean this up. So the world starts shaking the following week, when we get to step 12 and 13. Because at that point, you have a bunch of awake people realizing that they have not been aware of what's going on.
Right. Oh. Yeah.
No. Yeah, I mean, people are riots and things like that. That's not really how I've been shown. It's really humiliation, the collective humiliation that's going to be hard to swallow. Because, the people who are awake will not want punishment. They're not wanting vengeance. That's not awake.
Right.
So vengeance, punishment, they're going down to, that whatever that camp is below Cuba or whatever. What is that?
Alligator. Oh, below Cuba.
Yeah. Or is it like near Cuba? On Cuba, there's like a, I can't remember what that military base is where we torture Americans.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Maybe we're not supposed to give it vibrational energy.
But yeah.
Yeah. But it's like people talk about like all this, people are going to pay. No, actually, that's the whole point. No one will pay. No one was ever meant to pay. And if you find out that people are bad to you, you make them pay, you haven't ascended.
Right. You're the same as them.
So yes, some of the bad guys will get off scot-free. Yes. Would you trade that for a peaceful world? That's the question to ask yourself. Right. Guantanamo, thank you guys. Yeah. Would you trade that for the peaceful world? Because you don't even know. It's not till you wake up from the game after you die. You don't know. Quite often, a lot of the quote bad characters in this particular game were actually good guys playing the bad guys because no better person to play a bad guy than a good guy. So God casts good souls to play bad roles all the time. it's the best, most qualified person to not to go too far.
Right. Right.
So you just don't understand it down here. Just play the game.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
We have to judge and assess and be the God over other people. Like that's already handled.
yeah. By them, they're their own gods. We're our own gods. So good, deep conversation there, friend. I wish
Yeah,
you the best in your
it
changes.
was. I mean, we've got an exciting week. All of us do. So, guys, yeah, we want to find out more about Christopherwiteck. It's at Christopherwiteck, and then we got SiriusJoy.tv for all of his offerings. SiriusJoy.academy for
For
his
teaching.
the system intro to step system.
It's not too late to start intro to step astrology, guys. It's not too late. Like I'm only saying that because you take it now, you're gonna find yourself in a freaking amazing place by November. Amazing place by November, and it's crazy expensive. We did the 4 hours of lecture. You have to catch up on, like just like listen to it, but it's compelling because it's me. So you'll love it. It'll go by like moments, and then we start the actual labs next week. So this week, so we start actual labs. So I wouldn't mess around. Take it. You deserve it. Let me help you get to the top of the class fast.
There you go. All right, thank you so much, Chris. The comments were talking about how you have so much density in your words, and you're just speaking
Mm.
and you're giving yourself in so many different platforms for the good of everybody, and people appreciate you. So we'll be back next week, and Chris, enjoy yourself. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, brother. Much luck to you. Ciao.
Bye.